welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am glad that you're here. If you are new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button to join the Happy Soul Tribe, and if you're not new here, welcome back. It's been a while since I have posted a faith-related video. I posted one a few weeks ago. I've been doing some more like fall-themed videos. I love to switch up the content that I post on my channel just because it's fun for me, and I feel like it's nice for you guys to have it switched up. But I know everyone always gets on me when I post things that aren't faith related, and they're like, give us more faith related videos. So you can't please everybody, you know what I'm saying? So I figured that I would bring one to you guys today for Faith Friday, and we're just kind of gonna hop right into it because I don't want this to be super long and chatty, and I also have lots to do today, so I don't have like a ton of time to film. This setup is way different than my other setup that I've been filming in for the last few Faith Fridays, because I usually film in my living room where it's like super bright and sunny, but my neighbor was mowing, so you guys wouldn't really be able to hear me. So we're in my office today. So my church is doing a study on the book of Genesis right now and following the whole story of Abram, and it's been so good. I've actually gone over Abram and Abraham a little bit here on my channel way back in the past. I will try to find that specific video and link it in the cards up here. So I've been rereading back through Genesis, and it kind of ties in perfectly with what is going on in my life right now and other people's lives around me, and I'm sure that it will relate to you guys as well. So I'm going to talk just a touch about Abraham, mention a few scriptures. So today specifically I read the first few verses of chapter 15 in Genesis, and if you don't know the backstory of Abram, he was very, very old, like very old. His wife was very old. His wife's name was Sarah, and they had no children, and Sarah thought that she was barren and couldn't have children, and they were starting to get really impatient. But God promised Abram, in these scriptures that I'm going to mention, God promises Abram that you're going to have many, many sons, many children, many people to follow your name. Your generations are going to be many. So I'll read the scripture real quick like I usually do. Verse 1 says, "After this, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision. Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield. I am your very great reward." But Abram said, "Sovereign Lord, what can you give me since I remain childless, and the one who will inherit my estate is Eliezer? Guys, I don't know. That's a big word. We're just gonna call him Eli, of Damascus. And Abram said, you have given me no children, so a servant in my household will have to be my heir. Then the word of the Lord came to him. This man will not be your heir, but a son who is your own flesh and blood will be your heir. He took him outside and said, look up at the sky and count the stars. If indeed you can count them. Then he said to him, so shall your offspring be. And then I circled this in verse 6. Abram believed the Lord, and he credited it to him as righteousness. This spoke to me very strongly today, just because there's a lot going on right now in my life and the people around me as well, where it's so crucial and so important to completely rely on the promises of the Bible, the promises that God gives us, and the promise that he really does fulfill his promises. Even when the timing doesn't match up with what we want or with what we've planned or what we expected, or the way he fulfills that promise doesn't come in a way that we were hoping it would. And so today when I was reading that, I read back over it, and it just made me think of a couple of things that I wanted to share with you guys. Obviously, if you look at the logistics, let me put my pen down. I'm flinging that around like a crazy person. If you look at the logistics or the real life situation or all the facts, the science, it doesn't make sense for God to promise Abram, who's probably 80 years old at this point, and be like, yeah, you're gonna have so many kids, you're gonna have so many sons, look at the stars, can you count those? That's how crazy your generation is gonna be to follow you. You're gonna have a crazy amount of people. And if I was Abram, I would be like, okay, I would be so doubtful, because when you look at it through human eyes and through human perspective, you're 80 years old. You are old, crusted, dusted and busted. Like, there's just no way that's gonna happen for you. Like, people, you turn 20 and people are like, your eggs are getting old. Like, you know what I mean? So it would be so tempting in Abram's position to be like, yeah, sure, God, like, whatever, I've been waiting for 80 years, like, and you're still promising me this? Are you even gonna fulfill? And I'm sure Sarah was feeling the same way. And in verse 6, it just says, Abram believed the Lord. Abram believed the Lord and trusted in him. And so I was thinking and reflecting on like my life and how that's literally all we're asked to do. There's so many promises in the Bible for what our life is going to be like, what our life may look like, what he promises to do through our pain, and what his promises for the potential of our life are. And never once in the Bible does it say that God doesn't keep his promises. Like, he is the ultimate promise maker and promise keeper. He finishes what he starts, and he never leaves. But when we're looking at it in our perspective, like, we could be praying for something or asking God for something for a year, and a year is too long to wait. And so in our head, we're like, well, I guess that promise just wasn't meant for me. That promise wasn't going to be fulfilled for me. But imagine if you had to wait 80 years. Like, would you do it? Would you be able to trust and sit on that promise and believe continually every single day for 80 years that God is going to fulfill his promise to you? I personally know that I get very, very impatient. Like, I'll be praying about something, especially if it's a really hard thing for me, I'll be praying it to go away. Basically, like, there's this pain in my life, can you just take it away? And I'll be praying for it to go away and to go away and to go away. And then if it's been like a week, I'm like, well, I guess God doesn't care about me. And I'm a huge baby and I get impatient, but it makes me want to kick myself because that's not what we're called to. Ultimately, it glorifies him more when we are willing to wait the longest that we possibly have to wait for his will to be done, or wait the longest that we possibly have to wait, and still in that waiting period be just as faithful, just as in awe of his glory, and just as willing to serve even when you feel like he's not fulfilling his promise to you. That's what we're called to do, and that's what Abram did. And I just think it's so simple but profound that verse just says Abram believed the Lord. Like, he just believed the Lord. And so it encouraged me to really go back through the Bible, and I want to write down all of the promises that God continually makes, like repeatedly throughout the Bible, for people who love him and his followers and his children. And I want to write them down, and I want to just believe that they can and will happen for me. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when I expect them to or how I expect them to come true for me, but they will come true for me as long as I trust and believe in him. And I think that people kind of take that the wrong way and think that trusting and believing always looks really glamorous and beautiful and easy and peaceful, but it's not. There can be days where you're still trusting and believing in God, but you have a little bit of doubt and a little bit less hope in you, and that's when he asks you to reach out and grab his hand and let him know, and like cry out to him, let him know that you're running out of energy, you're running out of hope, and you're running out of endurance, and he provides that for us. I've also been reading through the story of Job, which is going to take me so long. I have to keep starting over because it's just so insane. And it even says in the book of Job, when Job was going through the worst suffering that probably any human has gone through besides Jesus, like, in the craziest, shortest amount of time, he went through absolute garbage, and he lets out these cries and these really long and like sad, lonely, hurting prayers. And the Bible specifically points out Job and says that Job did not sin in what he said. It's not sinful for you to cry out to God and be like, I'm starting to get impatient, I'm starting to wonder where you are you still here for me? That's not sinful of you, that's human of you, and it builds your relationship with him. Just like any relationship here on earth, you have to communicate and talk through your feelings, especially the gross ones, to grow closer together. And I think that shows like a deeper level of trust, communication, and love between you and the Lord when you're able to cry out to him and be like, I feel like you have left me. It's especially important when you're waiting on those promises to be fulfilled. And I just don't want, I know that I'm guilty of doing this, and I'm sure that there are other people, but I'm guilty of just thinking, yeah, God promises that for people, but not for me. Like, that promise isn't for me, but it is. Every promise that's in the Bible from God is for you too. You're not too far gone, you're not too messed up, you're not too unlucky for those promises to also ring true in your life. You just don't have the faith to believe that he will do that for you. Why would he do something for you if you don't even believe that he's capable of doing it, or that it's for you? Because it is for you. And I just think that that's so cool that God promised something that seemed unbelievably unrealistic, and it had been such a long time coming. He promised it to Abram, and Abram still chose, okay, I'm gonna still believe you. You're still promising it. I believe you, and I'm gonna trust that it's gonna happen, even if it's on the last day of my life. We just seem to think that God has to fit our timeline with things and our vision for things, and you cannot put God in a box, because the second that you do, things do not go the way that you thought that they would. So I just wanted to give you guys that little spurt of encouragement, hopefully, and I'm really hoping that it made sense, but it was really profound to me. Like I said, I just really need to focus more on, one, identifying what those promises for my life even are, but really focusing on them and knowing that they will be delivered fully to me, but not in the timing that I think that they need to be delivered, because ultimately his plan is greater. So just because God hasn't delivered the way that you wanted him to, or yet, doesn't mean that he's not going to or hasn't already. Just really put him in the driver's seat and trust that everything is going the way that it should, and that his promises still ring true for you. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. It really helps support my channel. But yeah, make sure that you go out of your way today to love on someone, make them feel extra special just because they are, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye guys.
Ryan, let's